Hello everyone, today we're going to be painting up a Beastmen Beastlord or a Wargor, whichever you prefer. This might be a shorter video as I am preparing a rather extensive kit bash for Sunday. But one of the greatest things about Warhammer on the Worlds is a lot of those warbands are transferable that we can use for the old world, and this is one of those kits. This character has been in my to-do list for a while, and I figured since I'm now doing videos on this channel, I might as well finally hit it up. So as usual, this model was primed in White Scar. All the paints are listed in the description below, by the way, detailing where and when. Next is going to be a all-over shade of Seraphim Sepia. Normally I go for a darker tone, but I want this to be a Wargor rather than a Beastlord, so I'm going with a brighter look for them, just so I can distinguish them. Because, I mean, look, we don't have a lot of models that are different, especially when it comes to captains, generals, and lords and heroes, essentially. So this is going to go all over the model. You're going to have to let it dry for a bit. It was cold today, so it did take a little bit longer to dry up. But you might notice the camera also shaking a bit. That's because the cats were running around today also. So I do apologize. I'm trying my best. Seraphim Sepia is really good if you're going to be doing skin tones or if you're going to be just going for lighter style contrast. The pre-shade method I feel works very well because if you're priming in white, in some cases, you might start to lose the detail. Everything will look the same. So this will raise up some details and will allow you to just pinpoint areas a little bit better. Now that the model is more or less dry, we're going to hit it up with some Wyldwood. This is going to be for a very small amount of the model. He is standing on a little bit of a log. And then for the shaft of the weapon. Very, very basic, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be working on a very fast pace. I wanted to give myself an hour for this model, but I'm not entirely sure too much because I did have to stop a few times. So the plan is working around the model through different sections to just be as quick as possible, whilst also trying not to make too many mistakes, because I want this model to look as decent as possible for a potential future battle report. I've got some really good ideas when it comes to Beastmen lists. This will be happening soon on the main channel. It's just taking a while because, look, the table's expensive and I'm trying to get all that sorted, and a bunch of terrain did break on the move, unfortunately. While that's drying, I'm going to hit the flesh with Guilliman flesh. This is something really strange because Beastmen are supposed to be fur all over, right? But I've seen even Games Workshop give them flesh. I think that's more like a back end of what happened from Age of Sigmar or something, but I've seen it more and more, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a try. What I normally used to do is I used to give them fur tone and a lighter fur tone in where the fleshy parts would be. But yeah, Guilliman flesh is a good paint. And it'll darken down anyway because I'm going to be using Null all over afterwards. There are a lot of flesh tone areas, so the hands, some of the parts of the arms, the legs. Yeah, pretty much most of the body and the face. It's interesting on how little fur this Beastman has. Maybe he wasn't a true-born beastman. Maybe he was just like a Gave. Though, mind you, I've not really heard of many Gaves having giant horns like that because your bigger horns means better status. But this is like the only thing I found weird with this kit. Honestly, the Spellcaster, which I'm going to do in a future video, is a phenomenal one. And I've got an idea for like an Ungor thing, but not until I finish that Centaur list I've been planning for a long time now. Now that I'm in England, I don't have to pay ludicrous shipping prices, so maybe I can actually finally get that sorted. Time to bring in the cursed Gore Grunta. This is the one that exploded on me a few days back, but I do love this paint, and that is going to go on all the fur bits because there is quite a lot of fur. And you just want to get it in there to give a bit of contrast. The Guilliman flesh and the Gore Grunta works very, very well. At the end of the day, browns, there's going to be a lot of browns for the Beastmen, and I think that's just the very typical thing, and I like it, right? It's what I use for a lot of my horses too. I feel like Gore Grunta covers not only very well, but is a phenomenal paint in terms of just general contrast paints. It's one of those best ones. You're going to be hitting some areas around the arms, the legs, and on the chest. Not too much, but enough to really make the model stand out. And you'll see at the end. But you can already see like the model is looking pretty far along, which I think is like one of the benefits of Beastmen. You don't need to put like 10,000 paints on them. It's just quick, easy. You can do highlights and stuff to make it better, but let's be honest, most of these Beastmen are going to die, and the reason that you're running Beastmen is to bring in the big beasties anyway. Snakebite leather now. This is going to go on straps, the wrappings, on the belts. There's quite a few belts on this character. And it's another brown, yes. I know, I'm using so many different colors. But I wanted this to look like a traditional Beastmen rather than going for a God-touched one. Still praying that one day Games Workshop allows us to mark our Beastmen. That being said, I think Snakebite leather is incredibly versatile, and it works incredibly well for not just straps, but also like bags, everything, really. I really enjoy this paint. It's why I've used it, I think, in almost every video so far. No, I think it's been in every single video, and it's not going to be the last that you'll see it. With the Snakebite leather, I'd say that the model's about 50% done, which is absolutely insane. There's the benefit of characters like this where they don't have a lot of things going for them, and these are objectively better. I mean, we have a decent character model right now, but it's a two-handed weapon one. This one just has the one-handed because I wanted to have him with one-handed weapon. I'm going to likely give him a shield. We really, and I really hope, get some new character kits for every single playable race, because some of them are still missing, like proper, like Beastmen are missing a BSB. Time for some Leadbelcher. Since this is a Wargor, I'm only going to go with Leadbelcher. Were it a Beastlord for me, then I'd start putting in some gold and bronze and stuff, but I wanted him to be as chill as possible in terms of design. So this is going to go on the armor plates around the legs. There's something around the chest also. On the hands, he's got some wrist guards. On the helmet and also on the horns on the tips. It's just to make him shine a little bit, and it's going to bring out all the browns around the rest of the body because it's a very drastically different color. In hindsight, I probably should have used some bronzes, but I do really like Leadbelcher. I think it's a really good color to put in. It covers extremely well, and it does the job, right? At the end of the day, the metallics just need to look metallic. Basilicanum Grey, not much to talk about here. I'm just trying to find an excuse to use it, because I'm still not getting too much usage out of it, but I'm putting it on the Hooves. I wanted to go black, but the thing is, Black Templar is too dark, if that makes sense. And if you need to do it too dark, then you're going to have to hit it with some dry brushes. And the idea here is just a quick, easy speed paint. Blood Angel's Red, another favorite paint of mine. So this is going to go on the cloth because a little bit of color is always very useful. And an important thing to talk about here is that in some cases with models like this, so you have to do a little bit of pre-planning. They've got like a wide stance with their legs, but they might have a lot of stuff covering the underside of the legs. So you might want to look at the models before you glue them and just glue them with a little bit of super glue. So you can easily snap them off the base, paint on the underside, and then glue them back on. I tend to do that with a lot of my miniatures, especially if I'm just using them on some basic bases and then transferring them onto something that I've already textured. It very much depends on the model and usually on the style. So you got to ballpark it, but anything with a weird stance, make sure to do that. It's going to make your life a lot easier. The last contrast paint will be Skeletal Horde, and this is like for the horns, the skull on the back, any bones. It does depend on the Beastman character that you have, but in most cases, it's going to be for horns and stuff like that. It's definitely a good paint for that, and really, you can't fault it. Depending on what you're going to be using it for, you might want to go for a different pre-shade. This is why I went for a Sepia, because it's going to be darkened later on by the Nulns Oil shade. I've gotten rather used to Skeletal Horde and the many ways to use it, so don't you worry, there's going to be videos on specific paints soon as I start to turn my attention to the ever-growing pile of Tomb Kings that I need to get rid of. Well, not get rid of, but finish painting. It's going to take a while. It's definitely going to take a while. And then finally, a Nulns Oil wash all over the miniature, because I like my minis to look dirty and not pristine, because these are Beastmen. And if you remember those old army books, especially I think it was the 6th edition one, they used to be printed shit stains on it because, yeah, this is what they were, right? They used to build up dung piles and everything, and I want my Beastmen to look freaking rank. I'm using a very big brush here because obviously this is the new Nulns Oil, and that is kind of the same consistency as a contrast paint. Just make sure it doesn't heavily pool. If you start to noticing it pool, you can just pick it up with a wet brush, move it around. The idea here is just 1 or 2 hits of the pot and just straight through the whole model. And here's the completed model. I'm pretty happy with it. The lighting isn't too great. I think it's just the light box. I need to get used to it, and it's a slow progress. I did lightly add some stuff to the base and stuff, just some grass. I don't have a lot of basing materials at the moment, but I just want to add in some rocks, so that's going to be in a few days' time, and I can have some other Beastmen up and running for a little force. Now, I've put him on a 30mm because I want to run him alongside some Bestigors. I know Bestigors aren't in the great spot right now, but I like them, and I've got a lot of them painted up, so I want to use them. This is a really fun model to paint, and hopefully soon I'll be painting up a Jabberlife, so that'll be on the channel at some point soon. I do apologize for a shorter video than usual, but this is just like a quick paint job. It doesn't really require that much. The next video should be a lot longer because it is a rather extensive kit bash / conversion for a model that has been in my waiting list for a while to do. And it's likely going to turn into like a 6-part series for that model because it's going to be multiple variants. That's the only hint that you're getting until Sunday. So let me know what you guys think about this. Have a great day. I'll see you all again very, very soon.